What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Champion Mindset Finding the Way. I'm your host, Tommy Stiles. With me, Dom Cardone. Dom, how are you, buddy?
What's up, brother? Doing good, doing good. I know it's our first episode in the new year. We were supposed to record 2 weeks ago. I was really sick with COVID. I'm obviously much better now, back into training. This month has been before getting sick. I got back into training fully 100% from the gut health stuff. Even though I started easing back in December, so training really started, and then I got sick like everybody else. Back to it 100% as of Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday. Um, Clients are killing me, just setting everybody up to compete this year. Oh, I feel great. My stomach's great.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, dude, I'm excited for this year, even though we're already almost through January.
Yeah, it's moving, dude. February is about to be here, and the next thing you know, it'll be fucking June. So, before I forget, like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified of all the content dropping on the Muscle Media Network channel. Today we are going to catch up a bit, but we'll also go in on a topic that I think is fitting for the time of year. So, since we've last recorded, you've also gotten engaged.
Oh yes, yeah, oh God, jeez, yes, yeah. On Christmas, spent Christmas in Colorado with her family. Got engaged, so we're getting married next spring, probably around April next year. So we're actually in the process now of mapping out, our living situation here in Florida. We're, mapping everything out. Just really, and she's like a person of action. Like she's like, let's make a plan, let's be strategic, which is fucking great. She handles the stuff that I don't want to handle. I handle the stuff that I need to handle as a man, and be a lot of really, really cool life changes. So between training, getting engaged, clients this year is going to be a really exciting year. A lot going on.
Yeah, big year, man. Congratulations. Today, so you had a story yesterday talking about body weight and how the scale isn't always uh doesn't tell the full story, and chasing a number on the scale doesn't mean progress, and it doesn't mean tissue. And I can vouch that, as someone who's worked with you for a couple of years now, you have changed my mind on that, because as a taller guy and, coming up in bodybuilding when I did, I've always had my eyes on, like, I got to get to 300. 300 is the number that I have to one day see, no matter if I have high blood pressure and high cholesterol and I don't look good and I'm fat. I got to see 300. But one thing you told me that stuck with me is quality over quantity. So, what sparked that post yesterday? What have you been seeing that's causing you to think like that?
So, we get as we have spoken about, you hear a lot of these young guys. They want to get on stage. They want to reach X number on the scale. They want to compete in this X time frame. They need to get on stage in a few months. I think every people are starting, not starting, it's always gone on, but it's more prevalent, especially the last year or 2 years, as we're seeing a lot of these young guys pop up on social media as influencers. And you get like somebody like the kid Anton, who won the class at nationals. I think he was 19, youngest classic pro ever, guys, not youngest IFBB pro bodybuilder. I just want to put a disclaimer on that. But you see somebody like that turn pro. They see a Sam Sulek, um, a lot of these young guys, and then they are setting these unrealistic expectations on themselves of either results and or stepping on stage. And what's happening is they're in a rush to get there, and they're doing. Listen, I love urgency. I love um, somebody staying on top of things. But when you're using drugs to rush to get somewhere and you're leaving out all the other aspects of the equation, you're just not going to get there. And I say this probably in every single podcast, just about. I always preach about it. Is that when I was 16, I was taught it's a marathon, not a sprint, by Fakri Mubarak. All my mentors told me that. They said, "Listen, this stuff takes time." And shit, I'm being kind of like these young guys with MMA. I find myself being a bit too ambitious and comparing myself to guys in the UFC or whatever, and people are like, no, you're only at this now, coming up to 2 years. You got to be a bit more. So I am now finding myself in their shoes, and it's a reminder to me. And so the other day I had a console call with somebody. He was 22 or 23, and it was like, yeah, I want to compete in June. I need to put on 20 pounds. And he's competed before. He was never really in shape. And shouldn't even have been on stage. I told him that. And I said, listen, you're not going to put 20 pounds of stage weight by June. I said, and if we work together, you're not competing in June. We need at least a year to actually grow. And he was like, no, I just want to do it for the experience. I want to see if it's for me. And it's just not how it works. And social media is driving these young guys, even adults, young adults, to put these unrealistic expectations and time frames on themselves. When meanwhile, Tommy, how long have you been bodybuilding for?
10 years this year.
Yeah, so, like, dude, like John Meadows. I mean, I had things obviously happen a bit younger than most people, but most guys, I just want to remove myself out of that equation because, in a humble way, because I only had too long. I only had a short career. So,
Yeah.
but majority of people, they're at it 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And those are the most consistent ones. Of course, there's a sense of urgency, but also too, like even you, for example, you don't want to step on stage until you're ready to be fully competitive at the national level. Like you're treating it year round as such, no matter how long it takes. And they just don't want to hear it, and they just don't want to apply it, which makes me wonder, are they really doing it for the right reasons, which we have spoken about before. Um, but yeah, just these unrealistic time frames and goals and unrealistic goal setting that's just going to make them fall short, or actually maybe even burn them out, or just waste their time. You work with a lot of people. I mean, you've been
Yeah.
at this for 10 years now. What's your thoughts on all that? What's your experience with all that?
It's hard to, put it on one thing. Um, I I think social media has definitely created a pressure on people that they don't necessarily need to put on themselves. Um, you know, Bodybuilding is awesome if you just run your own race. Just keep getting better, just keep putting on tissue. The marathon part of bodybuilding, and I just realized this, within the last 2 years, the marathon of it in that statement is the off seasons, putting on muscle. At any given point in your journey, you can get peeled if you do the work with a good coach, and you have the mental fortitude to go through prep. You can get peeled. It doesn't mean you're ready to turn pro if you get peeled, though. Like, getting peeled should be the standard. And we've definitely lost that across all divisions, because it's scary at some of the local shows. You see what people are willing to get on stage with, or what some people that call them coaches are putting. Some people that call themselves coaches are putting out athletes that are like off-season condition on a stage. And that's a whole different topic. But I think there's just the Sam Sulek phenomenon, for example, is like, first off, I have nothing against Sam. I think it's like, that kid is 21 years old. He just loves to lift weights, and he's sharing it with people.
He's grown up.
And when you get tons of people talking about you, you're gonna blow up as a following, good and bad. But I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I've never seen anything where he said, this is how I do it. You should do it this way too. He just shares what he does. Um, and I think a lot of the people critiquing him are forgetting what they were doing at 21. Were you doing things at 21 and putting it out there? Probably not. It was a different time. He's just capitalizing on the time. So, but to compare yourself to him, and Sam Sulek's 21 and he's 240. I got to get to 240 because I'm 24. I'm 26. It's like, it might not be in the cards for you like that. It's going to take longer. Um, but I think part of unreal expectations is also delusion. Um, you know, it just amazes me how many people want to get into bodybuilding that don't know anything about bodybuilding. I had a call yesterday with a guy who wants to do his first show, and he's got a decent amount of muscle, 23, about 215. I was kind of explaining the process to him, and he didn't know that there was weight classes. He didn't know that there was bantams, lightweights, heavyweights, super heavyweight. And so I think that's the fault of the person. You know, if you're someone, when I was getting into bodybuilding, I became a consumer of it. I was looking at all the results from all the shows, local and national. I was learning names. I was learning who was with what supplement company. I was like learning who I liked. Content wasn't where it is today. So like it wasn't, you know, I was still watching, you know, Ronnie and Jay on YouTube, but um I just think there's the unrealistic expectations come from delusion, and the delusion comes from not actually being interested in learning about what you say you want to get into. Because I mean, we've all heard that the 20 pounds of muscle and like it's gonna take you 5 years to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
And that's if most people could even do that. They don't realize too the genetics that still go into this. But will they even make it quote unquote motivation wise 5 years? Hell, most of these people that talk like this won't even make it a year. And it's you look at some of the best athletes in the world in any sport. A lot of them in the beginning, there was so many in the beginning that were dominant. You look at their championship records, you look at them later in their career, mid-level through their career, and in the beginning, I know in the fight world is very big. A lot of guys lost their first fights. It took them years to actually gain some sort of traction. There are many Olympic athletes like this. I like looking up who the Olympic athletes were. In the beginning of their careers, they didn't have this dominant record from start to finish, and they did have to fail a bit in the beginning, but they also had to take time to hone in those skills. And why it boggles my mind why, but again, I'm not boggled because I know a lot of it is down to social media and people comparing themselves to people like Sam and really anybody in social media. um Back then, years ago, there wasn't any social media, so everybody was like hungry. Like, we got into bodybuilding, we were hungry for knowledge, we were on the forums, uh we were on the forums. There was Facebook back then. It was MySpace and then Facebook, but even then, that's really all you had. And then eventually Instagram came out. But on YouTube, looking for knowledge. On the forums, looking for knowledge. Books. I was the same way as you, studying who was doing what show, following every single show and placing a video that came out just to really see. And of course, I didn't have no intentions of turning pro young. When I was young, I was like, I'm not even going to do a national show until I'm 25 or 26.
Right.
That was like in my head because that's what guys back then were doing. So I was like, who the hell am I to do that? I said, all right, maybe I'll hit a junior show in my early 20s. But um, so now we have guys, so I want to do nationals this year. I want to do North Americans this year. And then, so whenever anybody would sign up with me, I have them send me their last contest photos, bit about themselves. I look at them at their last contest, and they don't even belong in a regional show. And the problem is too, the standard has been lowered so much because of what people see. Again, comparing to you and I coming up back then, we got to see the standard was like up here. So holy shit, like these guys are winning regional shows, these guys are winning national shows, these are the pros, but I'm down here. But all right, I'm not ready. I need to go climb this up. So now you have every Joe Blow and Mary stepping on stage today, and these people see this, they're like, and this is partially why I can't hold them fully at fault for this little bit of, well, a lot of bit of being delusional, is because they're going by what they see. If you see these types of competitors step on stage, not peeled, not huge, of course you're going to think, oh, I can achieve that too. So that's why I can't, there's a small part of me too that's like, all right, it's really not 100% their fault. They just don't know any better. And but again, social media, looking at these people step on stage, I can do it too. Meanwhile, in the grand scheme of things, it's just bringing down the bar way lower for everybody, and then leaving room for a lot of disappointment and or delusion. So I just, I wish people were more long-term invested, marathon invested versus sprinting and just wanting just to do it for experience or thinking that they were going to step on a national level stage this year. The amount of people I've had inquire, I want to do nationals. You have years before you could even do nationals. It's mind blowing to me. But again, my mind always goes back to they're only going by what they see. What you and I saw was fucking cream of the crop. We studied it. Now, everybody's kind of, all these people are at the fate of what they see in social media. So, a big take home from this whole rant that I'm putting on, that I'm all over the place on, is, me and Tommy have said it for a while now, is that you just have to be invested long term. This is not going to happen overnight unless you're some genetic anomaly, which most of you watching this are not. It does not matter how much drugs you take. It does not matter what your favorite influencer is saying. It does not matter what these people on Instagram are saying. This bodybuilding or whatever it is that you're getting involved in, it's going to take time. Either it be business, either it be coaching, either it be bodybuilding, whatever it is, you have to really be in it for the long haul. And I know we drive this point home a lot, um, but you have to really ingrain that in your head, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment and delusion by not keeping this in your head. And it's great to be urgent. It's great to have a sense of urgency. It's great to be quote unquote motivated, but you can't let that make you delusional or set these unrealistic goal expectations. And then you see the reels that bodybuilders put online, and they say, "Oh, don't let anybody say you can't achieve your dreams." Guys, I'm all about setting very high goals for yourself, but you have to keep the standard very high. And bodybuilding, or whatever it is you're getting into, is still going to be long term invested. So, putting it out there in the universe on your social media saying you're going to do nationals this year isn't necessarily going to make it happen, because a reel told you to do that. I can't say it enough. You have to be realistic with setting your goals, short term goals, break them out into micro goals or mini goals, set up your long term goals and hammer each one. Because if you're just keeping this, if you're one of these people that keep stepping on stage and falling short, there's one or many reasons behind it. And I believe a big reason behind it is what we are speaking about now.
You bring up a good point about, setting long-term goals, but then creating micro goals within that long-term goal. Because if you set a goal that's too far away, like if your goal is just to turn pro, you'll burn out. You won't actually get any closer to that goal because it's such a lofty goal. Um, you gotta there's checkpoints along the way. That's what each show is an opportunity um to check off and to get closer and to just build your systems to put you in a place to where achieving that lofty goal could actually be a reality at some point. It's okay, like it is okay to carry a level of delusion within self, because you have to believe what you're going for. You don't have to put it out to everybody and let them believe it or make them believe it. They'll become believers at some point if you stay believing in yourself for long enough. But where I think I see a lot of people go wrong, and even something that I've honed in on, especially at the start of this year, is just focusing on the micro goals. What can I control today to be better towards my long-term goal? If I'm not getting on stage this year, that I still have a lot of work to do this year. Like, just because the stage isn't happening till 2025, there's so much work that has to be done in 2024. But I can't think about my prep in 2025, or it's too distant. I'm thinking about, what do I got to do this week to be a better bodybuilder? I have 5 training sessions this week. I need to hit every one with intensity. To make sure I can bring the intensity, I got to get in bed by a certain time every night. I got to get up at a certain time every day to start my food for the day so I can keep it spaced out, so this gut that we've fixed doesn't go backwards. Money, we were just talking about that off air. To be a good bodybuilder nowadays, your income reflects that. You cannot be broke and make this happen. Maybe if you're a genetic anomaly and you get some sponsors, maybe, but don't bank on that. That's probably not a thing anymore. Companies aren't just giving people contracts because they're good. You got to be able to do something for them. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to get creative, especially the younger listeners. Like one job might not be enough. I mean, we were talking about the things we did off air. Like you were working concrete. I was, I've had periods of donating plasma, moving furniture. I was building up coaching. I was driving for Lyft. Like I was doing whatever it took to make bodybuilding my full-time job. And while I built my coaching business, eventually, I'm personal training and coaching. Then I finally got to a place where I could leave personal training and I'm just coaching, but it was steps. I knew I wasn't going to build a coaching business and get 50 clients overnight. It took, 5 years to really be able to live off of it. So there's nothing wrong with setting these goals if you do want to become a coach or you do want to do something, turn pro, but you got to have realistic expectations of the work ethic that you're going to have to get there, because it's not easy. It's hard. I mean, I know it's hard to be good as a competitor. It's hard to be good as a coach. Everybody's a coach now. You're not necessarily competing with everyone because you create your own culture within your coaching business. How you work with your athletes, how I work with my athletes is probably similar, but we have our own things that make us tick and we know how to tap into people's psychology. But I think, the unrealistic expectations come from not creating micro goals and not really focusing on habits and rituals, which that's the stuff that I love. I love making my day about how to get better in every way possible. How do I make my business better? How do I get better as a bodybuilder? Because bodybuilding, and we've talked about this, it's super simple. It's not that hard. You train as hard as you can for 2 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week, 4 to 6 days a week. You eat the food that you're told to by your coach. With that comes prep work. You got to make sure you have your meals prepped. You do your cardio, you get some movement with your steps, you drink your water, you take your drugs, and that's it, man. It's just doing that every day and stacking those days into weeks and stacking those weeks into months and the months into years. That's the only thing I'm going to be doing between now and starting a prep is the things I just listed. There's nothing special. There's no special protocol. So what I'm undeniably different on the stage, and this is what I think about that keeps me ticking along, it's because of all the days I just did what I was supposed to do every single day. And if a bad day, if something out of my control happens, I don't dwell on it. I get back on the horse the next day because life happens. There's only one Dorian. The Dorian isn't or not. Like no one will be as perfect as Dorian ever, especially in today's climate. So, the point of that rant, my rant on top of your rant, was just the micro goals. I think people are missing the big picture of they're not falling in love with the process because they're so focused on a destination that they don't even know if they want to get to. They just think they do because it looks attractive on social media.
Everything looks shiny on social media. The end result in those trophies always look shiny, or building a business, anything, the end result always looks great. That's a little dopamine. We see it. I want that. But to get it, people shy away from the actual work and mental fortitude that it takes to get there. And that was a big thing that Oscar used to talk about was every day is a win. You're building up the blocks of discipline. Did you get all your meals in today? Did you get all your injections in today? Did you get all your orals in today? I mean, he broke down literally everything. Did you get all your supplements in today? How was your training today? Did you get your cardio in today? How was your sleep? And I remember I'd be so upset. Like he goes, and he would tell me, he goes, like, look at every meal like an opportunity to grow. Look at every meal to get closer to that 800-pound squat. Like we would make little goals of like even weights in the gym, not by X amount of time frames, but it would be nice to squat this much for this much, deadlift. And he's like, look at every injection as a way to get closer to your goal. Look at it, like literally everything was broken down into a brick in whatever we were doing. And it just, I got fucking upset. I got that feel. I got to obsess with it. I remember going to bed. I know tonight I'm going to grow. Wake up in the morning. I'm doing my cardio. I'm burning fat. Like everything I did in my day was like, it made me feel good because I'm like, I have a purpose behind every little thing that I'm doing. Um, So that's why too, I was able year round bodybuilding was easy for me, no matter if I had to work or whatever it was. But as you just said too, in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty damn easy. And I remember I made a post on Threads a week or two ago, and there was a few people that got on me about it, but what's so hard about it?
Yeah.
Like, if you wake up in the morning, most likely you're gonna eat breakfast. You're gonna eat lunch at some point. You're not eating. So why not eat for a purpose? If you're
Right.
going to the gym, why not go to the gym for a purpose? You're going to probably take steroids anyway. Why not take it for a purpose? Like everything should be have the foundation of a purpose, even if you break it down. And that ties into micro goals. And it just makes it a lot easier to adhere to things and stay, motivated and driven. And of course, that won't always be there without a show or a goal in sight. So that was micro goals and mini goals and mini and small little pieces of purpose behind every action add up. And then when you add all that up over time, you should have that end result or come pretty damn close to it. You know, most people that I work with, I say, listen, I'm not going to guarantee you a pro card. Nobody can do that.
Yeah.
Literally, nobody can do that unless like you're just a genetic fucking freak. And it's very that's like a 1% now. And I tell them, listen, but what I can guarantee you is if you do everything that you have to do, then you will absolutely be far beyond the better version of yourself. And that goes into everything that I just broke down behind all those little purposes, all those little goals, because they absolutely add up 1,000%. I am living proof of that. The people that I coach are living proof of that. The athletes that I'm surrounded are living proof that you're living proof of that. Like it's guys, the journey, not to sound cliche, but the journey and the road of getting there is far more glorious than the end result. I promise you that. Because when you have these little goals, when you have these little purposes in your day, and you do hit something does happen in life, whatever it may be, big or small, but you still manage to work through them. When you look back, you're going to be, holy shit, I still did it throughout whatever it is I went through, either it be your car breaking down or it be somebody dying. Yes, I will get that extreme. Why am I getting that extreme? Because I did it. So if you're watching this, you can do it too. It's really just how your perspective is on something. Something happens in your life, you're still going to eat. So why don't you just still eat your diet food? Are you just going to sit home or are you going to the gym? You might as well go to the gym. Like
Yeah.
it's nobody's handcuffing you saying you can't do these things. It's literally the perspective that people place on all these things and goal setting and end result. But if they were to break everything down into small little bits and pieces, it may seem like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it makes a lot much simpler and less complex to follow and on a psychological level just absorb. Every day has a purpose. When every day has a purpose, you know, not to drag this on too long, people have work jobs. Most of them, some people sit home and they don't do a fucking thing. But, if you're going to your job, see if somebody works a 9 to 5, hopefully most people are doing everything their job asks for. So you're doing that, but you can't do it for yourself in terms of following your diet, doing cardio. Again, you're going to eat anyway, you're going to the gym anyway. So why not, if you have a purpose in going to your job for your paycheck, why not have this same purpose in achieving whatever it is goal? Either be competing, either be you're a lifestyle athlete who just wants to lose weight, put muscle, and look great, whatever it is, fucking look great in the beach. Why can't that same perspective and outlook that you place in your job be placed with this stuff that we're talking about? At your job, they have mini goals that you need to get things done. Why not do the same thing? So it all comes down to the perspective, and you break it down into all little pieces. I know I just rambled on a lot.
No, it's spot on. I mean, the more you talk, the more I realize like every single thing I do every day is about being like every decision I make is about being better, whether it's a better bodybuilder, a better coach. It's just I am driven by progression. That's what gets me out of bed because there is a voice in the back of my head that just says, be lazy, watch Netflix, and eat Fritos. And if
Yep.
I were to cave to that voice, I would just be average like everybody else, or I would be, no one, I wouldn't have a podcast, no one would know my name, I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like if I gave in to that temptation, because I think there's this misconception that everyone who is on a pedestal in the perception of somebody else's eyes is just driven with intrinsic motivation. And they just hop out of bed when their alarm goes off and just get after it. And it's like, no, it's not real. Like everyone has the same struggles and the same, some more than others, but it's just about discipline. Once you create habits, you can't break the habits because the thought of breaking the habit is depressing to you. So that's, and a lot of people who call themselves depressed, you just have bad habits. If you flip the script on those habits for a few months, you will think 100% differently. It all comes down to your habits and your rituals. And you know, to be a good bodybuilder, every single, and this is actually something, you know, to jet out, like the amount of younger people getting into it who are not listening to the older guys and girls who have wisdom to give, of like, you know, I've always been good at listening to people who've done it. I listen to you, I listen to Dusty, I listen to Ron Partlow. I love to hear stories about how guys were making it happen, because now it's easy. We have everything handed to us. You can have your groceries delivered to you. You can have meal prep service if you can afford it. We have rice cookers and instant pots and air fryers. We have it so fucking easy now to be successful at this. All you have to do is put in a little bit of work and work a little bit harder to make some extra money to make your life easier. But when I hear stories about what guys had to do in the 90s and the early 2000s, and like, you know, bouncing at clubs just to make some money, but they needed to work a job where they could get their meals in and you know, train midday. We just it's so easy now to create a system that can make you a good bodybuilder. But what I find the disconnect is no one's actually putting the, like, they're not playing the game of chess. They're not creating their day around how to be a better bodybuilder and still progress in life. I've never told anybody to give up your job or give up your dreams or give up your family to be a better bodybuilder. That's a horrible idea. But if like I knew bodybuilding was important to me at a young age. And it's just something that for whatever reason, consistently through my life, I've just always chose that. It would just, it's like a switch in my head. Like I remember I decided I wasn't going to go to work to a job I had just started out here in Arizona when I first moved. I was like 4 days in and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to work there. It's not going to work for me. And then the gym was open for 24 hours. So I just went and trained at 3 a.m. It's like, I always just revert back to training or bodybuilding as my life anchor. And then I'll figure the rest out along the way. And I don't recommend that for everyone, but that's just been how I've done it. But, you know, it's just so simple to create systems that make you better. And then that that horizon and that goal that's off in the distance, it's not so far away after 6 months. It's not so far away after a year, 18 months, 2 years. But we see it all the time. Like I can tell by how someone's posting. They're on a cycle and they're riding a wave of motivation. They're going to fall off very soon. And then you don't see them on social media for 3 months. And then they post and talk about how they're getting back into it and they're coming back and all this shit. And they post, you know, a reel with Jay-Z talking about a comeback. It's like, no, you're just going to do what you did before and you're just going to revert back to where you were. And then it's just this game of you're a yo-yo. You can't be a yo-yo bodybuilder. If you have aspirations to turn pro or win a show or, you know, even achieve a goal that might not be anything related to competing. If you're a male who wants a six pack for the first time in your life, it's going to be hard. There's going to be resistance. You have to push through that resistance every step of the way. And more and more and more, you know, as of late, especially, I don't know why it's dawning on me. I just think habits and rituals, your daily micro tasks that you accomplish are what dictate your altitude and if you'll achieve the goals you set or not.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have put it any better than that. Tommy, I do have to wrap it because I have a 10:15 call, and I know we spoke our first half hour. Is it okay if we wrap this up soon?
Yeah, we're good. I got a consult soon too, so
Okay,
um,
perfect.
but yeah, I think that's a good one to put out as the first one of the year. If you're someone listening to this and you're, what are we, January 25th? We're almost through the first month of the year. I like to break the year down into quarters. So every 3 months is a quarter. Football game is 4 quarters. Basketball game is 4 quarters, right? So if you're, the first month of the year, if it didn't go the way you expected, the year's not over. It's just getting started. So you can flip the script as soon as right now, as if you're hearing this. And if you are, you are kicking ass and you're following your goal, don't don't get complacent. Don't let off the gas. Stay consistent with your work ethic. I think I've learned just to ride the midline. Don't let any win go to your head, and don't let a loss go to your head. Just keep showing up, keep following the habits and rituals. It all evens out in the end. So you got anything else?
No, dude, everything you just said after I interrupted you to get off, which
No, you're
guys,
good.
as I know is seemed a little bit early, but we spent half an hour before this just catching up. But everything that Tommy just said all traces back to the entire topic we just spoke about: the micro goals, the mini purposes, the larger purposes, the adapting to the hard things in life, and that little voice in your head that tells you to fucking stop. Because again, just like anything else you do in life with habits and rituals, the more you get, and it sounds cliche because we hear about it in social media, but it is very true. The more you cave in to that voice telling you, let me stop my cardio early, let me skip this meal, let me eat this little bit of food, let me stay in bed a little bit longer, let me skip this training session today, let me answer my clients tomorrow, let me, whatever it is, let me replace the toilet paper tomorrow. Like, the more you can, I know it sounds like some stupid shit to some of you, but and this has been a really big thing in my training since I returned to training for my gut health stuff, because it's very hard in the beginning returning to the training after you've been off, cardio wise, physical wise, and you get that little voice that says, "Stop the round early. You have next round." Apply these aspects to the rest of your life, and I guarantee you, the more you say no to all those things that add up into shit habits, and you replace them with these mini goals, these mini habits, these mini purposes that are adding to these things, I guarantee you it will pay off in more ways than one. Like everything we just said all ties together. If you're reading our message right, everything that we said all ties together in some way or another. And I guarantee you it will absolutely help your life flourish. Hey, it will absolutely help your life flourish. Guaranteed.
Beautiful. Well, that's the first one of the year. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Anything you guys want to hear about mindset wise, anything you liked, didn't like, let us know. We're always open to feedback. So for Dom Cardone, I'm Tommy Stiles. This has been a champion mindset, finding the way. We're out of here.